So we're back. We did your training this morning. We're doing our podcast this afternoon. It's always a busy Monday when we're putting out content designed to help others get better. But Adam, I learned something many, many years ago that the best way to learn is to do. And all the years where I helped people without making a penny from it, I got so much better myself in the process. So I don't mind doing this because I know it's making me better. It's making you better. And hopefully, if you're watching right now, it's making you better as well. Before we jump into today's episode, like, comment, and subscribe, however method in which you're viewing or listening to our content today. The more you interact with the video, like it, comment, share it, the more YouTube will show it to folks that don't even know that they need it. So, Adam, today we're going to try to go for 30 minutes without ever saying the word insurance. It's the only time I'm going to say it. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it. I'm probably not. But can we go 30 minutes without saying that word again?
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
We're going to talk about topics that revolve around that thing, but we're going to talk about it in a more broad spectrum approach, a more entrepreneurial approach, a more generic sales approach. But we're not also going to talk about specific sales tips or strategies or closing techniques. We're going to talk about the everything in between without using the I word today. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just think that there's a lot of things out there that we can talk about that can relate to many other, many other jobs, many other self-employed people, even maybe that have different careers. It doesn't necessarily have to just be focused on the I word, insurance. Oops.
One time.
But again, I mean, I think that what we're going to be talking about today can relate to a lot of people for sure.
So the first subtopic of today's conversation that does not include the I word is work-life balance. Some people would say, I'm self-employed. There's no such thing as a work-life balance. I work 24/7. Now, I think that is true to an extent, but I think there is a balancing act to it. Because if you work 24/7 and you make $5 million a year, but you never see your kids grow up along the way, what was all that work even for? So, we're going to talk a little bit in our first subtopic this morning about work-life balance. Adam, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means getting enough accomplished throughout the workday that I'm going to have enough time to do those activities with my kids, to take part in things that they're involved in. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of hope that they know that, I mean, what I do, it's all for them. They wouldn't be in cheerleading. They wouldn't be in music lessons. They wouldn't be in soccer, or marching band, or other things had I not been able to get out there and work. And I mean, I do it for them. I mean, I don't need as much as what with them, of course I do. With them, I have to, I don't want them to not be able to do stuff because I didn't do my part ahead of time. I guess if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. I remember many, many years ago, I was working full time as a paramedic, and full time really meant more like 60, 70, 75, 80 hours a week until you figured out how much you were making was losing most of it to taxes. It was somewhere around that extreme amount of hours a week. And I ran into a guy who would work from one station to the next, from a cop to a medic to an EMT all over multiple job roles. And when I would come and I would relieve him for the shift, he'd be passed out, exhausted. And I said to him one day, and I won't use the name in case he still is on my Facebook page. I said, why do you do it? But he said something powerful in return. He said, so that my kids will never want for anything. I came to this realization that that's an admirable thing he's doing. He's working his ass off to provide for his kids, but he's also never going to see them. And I had this like moment in my head where I realized I was either going to become him or become something different in that same vein. So we never want our kids to want for anything, but we begin the entrepreneurial journey to be able to create a work-life balance. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. And again, and I hope that they realize that it's part of life. I have to go out and work and make money so they can do all these different things that they like to do. And yeah, when I get home, I mean, almost every night I feel like, one of my kids is coming up to me wanting to do something, wanting to play this and that. Uh, and I think about that too. I mean, heck, they're not going to be as young as they are forever. Like you said, I mean, not being able to see your kids grow up because you're so busy working. You want to be able to spend time with them and watch them grow up and be involved with the things that they're doing. I don't want to look back in 20 years and be like, man, time went so fast because all I was doing was working. Then I think there is a bit of a balancing act there to try to get it all accomplished, to try to get out there and work as much as you can to make the money, but still be involved in your kid's life.
Yeah, I had the same or similar conversation when we're talking annual enrollment with Nick, who does videos with us as well. And Nick had this concept where if it's a singular kid event, like it's a thing that isn't going to happen again, those things get priority over work. Nick has a very structured, rigid schedule that he follows. I would know for a fact I'd never get him on a video on a Monday because Monday has been a field day for a decade. But I know that if his daughter was doing something on a Monday that would never ever happen again, that would take precedence over his work schedule. So maybe if you're listening or watching to this and you're thinking to yourself, I need to work hard. In fact, I'm still in survival mode in my entrepreneurial journey. Ask yourself, is this thing that my kids are doing, does it happen all the time? Is it going to happen again? Or is this like a one-time opportunity I have to be present and to make a memory with them that I might not get to do again?
Well, and sometimes maybe we need to rearrange our schedule a little bit if we have to. For instance, my daughter last week, she had a orchestra concert at 6 o'clock at night. So usually I'll have a 6 o'clock appointment on a Tuesday night. So that just meant I had to rearrange things a little bit and maybe work a little bit on a day that I usually don't to make up for it. Actually, I went out the Friday prior. Friday is usually my office day. But I had an appointment that the people wanted to see me and they wanted to meet up. And I felt like it was going to be a good chance, a good opportunity to make a sale. So that Friday evening where I would usually be home, well, I sacrificed that to go out and at that appointment and work, and probably got home about maybe 8 o'clock at night. Made a pretty good sale, but then I was still able to go to my daughter's orchestra concert last Tuesday night. So again, we just maybe rearrange things a little bit to still be able to be involved. And I mean, my daughter, she's been playing the violin for 2.5 years. She just joined orchestra at school. She's a little bit ahead of everybody. It's actually been really boring for her, like because she's so further ahead with her level of playing ability. But I knew that she'd be bored, and I knew that. But that didn't really matter. I mean, me just being there really was what mattered. It didn't really matter whether she was bored or not. She was just happy to see that I was able to make it.
Yeah, I think there's a balancing act between being flexible and being too flexible. Like your schedule has to be your schedule pretty much every single week out of the year, less maybe 2 weeks out of the year. But you also occasionally have to be flexible. I had extra time last week. I was in the field 3 straight days, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. because I knew this week I needed to be present on Wednesday for some stuff with the kids. I needed to be present on Friday for some responsibilities. I knew the next week was going to be Thanksgiving, wasn't going to be working as much in the field. So I added time then, because if you look at things a little bit more globally in your entrepreneurial journey and your schedule, you can work extra 2 weeks ahead of when you have to be off 2 weeks later. And that time kind of balances itself out if you're structured with your schedule in and around that time, is how I see flexibility in our schedules.
Yeah, that's a great thing about doing what we do and being able to set our own schedule and be able to kind of make those adjustments when we need to. But then we also do have to be disciplined with it. And if your production and your sales and your income starts to take a dip, well, maybe it's because you're taking too much time off to do other things. And maybe even though your kids have some stuff going on, again, is it a priority? Is it something that is, I really need to be there? Or is it more of like, I think they'll be all right if I miss it because I also have this other thing going on. And I just think it's a balancing act, trying to figure all that out, trying to keep our kids happy, but also continuing to live the life that we live and being sure that we're making enough money for them to live the life they want to live.
Yeah, I think the harder you work at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, the more freedom you buy yourself later on. Like we're buying time and printing money in a lot of ways with what we do, but that requires short term sacrifices. Again, here's another bumper sticker phrase for long term gains. I'm going to the American Education Week, drop into your kids' class thing on a Wednesday to Wednesday. Normally, maybe in my beginning year or two in the business, I couldn't do that or wouldn't be able to do that because I couldn't afford to do it. But 7, 8 years later, I've earned the right to be able to take that time and not have to make up that time. So I think there's a fine line again between working hard so that later on you're able to enjoy some of these things too.
Are you often able to get out and get away, take trips? Is it difficult with the kids, Chris, or
Well, I think it's scheduled. I mean, I think
yeah.
that this before we started the summer, girlfriend and I have 4 kids, blended family. So we have the kids some of the time and some of the time that we don't. We have scheduled vacation based off of a custody agreement. So we can use 2 weeks with them and we can't use more than that. So we have to be very deliberate about a lot of the aspects of our life. And when it came to this summer, I kid you not, Adam, we had almost every single day, every single weekend scheduled. Like we're going away on a 4-day weekend. I'm working 4 days, so we can't like all of the nuances of the summer we're committed to. And you know what that did for the summer is it made it a lot less stressful. It made it a lot more predictable, and it made it that we were able to have fun and unplug from work, but also work at the same time. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to juggle with that. But I think the more that you have to juggle, the more you also have to schedule it as well.
I like what you said there about scheduling everything and kind of putting everything in place. And all right, let's look at our week. And if we want to do something with the kids, well, then that's the day that we'll do it rather than just kind of on a whim saying, let's go do this today. I mean, because that'd be difficult, especially as an entrepreneur, to just take off whenever you feel like it. I mean, yeah, it's easy to do, but then what you got to kind of look at the consequences of that as well. What am I going to miss out on by taking the day off today? And how am I going to be able to make that up? But if you schedule it out ahead of time, like you said, I mean, your whole summer was pretty much scheduled. You knew what your week was going to look like. You guys planned stuff with the kids. Uh, you were able to kind of fit it all in your schedule. I think that makes a lot of sense, rather than just on a whim trying to make those plans, but maybe planning a little bit better ahead of time for all of that.
Yeah, I'm also very deliberate with scheduling time off like around Christmas to New Year's. My girlfriend works in the school district. She time off luxuriously. Like she gets very specific time during the school year and very little of it. And then that Christmas to New Year's time is time the kids are off from school, time that we can be intentionally on vacation. And I work very hard into that point of the year to be able to make that a possibility. But I'm also comfortable unplugging from work between this time and that time at the end of the year because it was scheduled. Like it isn't an on the whim kind of thing. And it didn't come in year 1 in the business, year 2 in the business, year 3 in the business. I think year 2 or year 3, Adam, I was working on New Year's Day. Maybe I didn't need to, but I felt the need to. Like it was a Monday or a Tuesday. I'm like, why am I not working? Like it's Monday. So what? I went out, I knocked some doors. I helped some folks with the product that we specialize in that we're not saying today to be intentionally in the everything in between category. But it just all come again, short-term sacrifice, long-term gain, and recognizing that I also think a lot of people struggle with deciding when they like what an emergency really is in their business. Like an agents oftentimes or entrepreneurs or self-employed individuals, um, they they're looking for reasons not to work. Like, oh well, it rained today. Oh well, it's cold outside. Oh well, I need an oil change. I sprained my ankle. They're looking for reasons not to work, and that's why they never get past that struggle level in this business. Do you find that to be the case?
I think so. And honestly, I mean, I think if that's the mentality of somebody, they're never going to get ahead to the point where they're going to be able to take that time off to spend the time with their kids because they're always going to be broke. They're always going to have to figure out ways to get out there and make money because because of the poor work ethic. I've had people that I've worked with in the past where they might have an appointment to go see somebody at 3 p.m, or that person's not home. Well, then they're just too discouraged to continue doing anything the rest of the day. They're just going to go home and pout about it. Well, well, that's why you're failing. That's why you're not succeeding. And that's why you're always going to have to work. And you got to be willing, especially like you said, the first few years to be able to sacrifice a little bit more, to put more of that time in. And I mean, I've talked about it a lot. Even, I mean, this year for myself has been kind of like starting over, and having to put a lot more time in than I had the last 5, 6 years. Kind of a difference in what I'm doing now compared to what I was doing the last 6, 7 years. And because of that, yeah, I got to work a little bit more, kind of getting back into just that nonstop, doing whatever I can to get out there and make money, but still having to kind of balance that to see to it that can still be involved with, like I said, the stuff that my kids are involved with as well.
I think structure breeds stability. I think that even our own schedule, we know that on Monday morning, we're doing your long form training, or Monday afternoon, we're doing podcast. Friday morning, you're on my morning training. That kind of structure makes a busy schedule more stable. I also think that it's important for people in their entrepreneurial journey to get family on their side so they can have that support. They know where they're going. They're knowing what they're trying to accomplish. They're willing to understand the sacrifices sometimes. But I think sometimes agents are, almost said it. I think sometimes self-employed individuals in sales perhaps set bad examples for their family. Like they're telling their family they want this to happen. They want to get them to this level in life, but their significant other, their spouse comes home and they've never left. Like I could never imagine doing that and thinking to myself, I want my family to be on my side, but I'm not going to be on my own side along the way. It just came to me in the process of filming this today. But do you really think that people who have family not on their side is because they're not doing things right in the very beginning or at all?
I think you're right. I think, unfortunately, to a lot of people that are self-employed, entrepreneurs, 1099, if they're involved in a relationship with somebody that maybe has that full-time career with the benefits, with the salary. I mean, I've seen people I've worked with in the past where they almost treat what we do as a hobby
Mm-hmm.
because their significant other, like the breadwinner. They're the ones who has that, like I said, that salary. They're the one who has those benefits, and it's almost like they just want to do just enough so their significant other just stays off their back, rather than wanting to do more. Heck, they could do more, career like what we do. They could do more to the point where their significant other doesn't even have to work anymore. But again, I've seen it where a lot of people, they just tend to do the bare minimum just to get by, to satisfy their significant other. But fortunately, I mean, I'm in a very good situation. My wife is very understanding with my career and what I do, and she understands that I have to be out working. That's just part of it. We have to be out working. I mean, the ultimate goal is to get to the point where I don't need to get out in the field as much. But I mean, we both kind of knew going in that this year it was going to be a lot more of getting back out in the field and working, and less time at home. And I think the kids, they kind of do, they see the schedule. They understand that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday means I'm going to be out in the field and I'm not going to be home a whole lot. But that also means that uh, Friday through Monday, that means that I'm going to be home a little bit more. And those 2 office days, I'm home. They know I'm in the office, but they still get to see me. And at night, they're going to see me. And of course, at night when I get home those other days. So, still try my best to make time. And heck, if that means I gotta, spend some time with my kids after work, and once they're in bed, get back on the computer and do some other things, that's usually what I end up doing. Maybe I don't get to bed till midnight, but at least I still had a little bit of quality time with my kids before they went to bed, where I can hear about their day and what they did, and let them know that I really care about things that they have going on in their life.
Yeah, I think you're one of the best at maximizing non-business hours for productivity. Like you're in actively mode. Sometimes 8, 9 o'clock, sending me messages and thoughts and concepts, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I've used every ounce of what I have left. That's it. But recognizing that just because it's not 9 to 5 doesn't mean you can't do something, especially those things that are not sales related activities. Because I think a lot of times individuals in self-employed environments and sales and such struggle because they don't know how to balance income producing activities and non-income producing activities to make that system work.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with someone in the past where, I mean, it was someone that was like a leader that was working that I with, where his phone 5 o'clock came and it was off. Like we turn our phone on at 9 and we shut it off at 5, and it's like we just can't do that with what we do. There's people that we work with that are going to need us, that are going to have questions, that are going to need our help, and we can't really treat it like that. That 9 to 5. I tell the people I work with all the time. I mean, I had a guy yesterday calling me that was visiting with somebody that he just needed a little bit of help and assistance. Like, I'm here if you need me. All you got to do is get a hold of me. I mean, my phone is by my side. Don't call me for something that could wait, but I mean, if you need me right now, I'm here.
Exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of times people waste this opportunity to be self-employed, control the outcome of your career, your business, your income. They waste it. Like you were saying a few minutes ago, they're working just enough to make it look like they're working. Or realistically, what's happening is they're working just enough not to fail. When you're self-employed, you're not going to get fired. But you'll like the worst part of it is you're like fire yourself over a 6 month period where one day you'll wake up and you realize you really are unemployed and you've been fooling yourself this whole time, which is pretty tragic. I just hope that people that have the skill set, have the desire, have the money saved to make it happen, they don't waste this, because this is a pretty incredible opportunity once you figured out a system in sales or entrepreneurial or business ownership to implement it. I think most businesses are really not all that creative once you understand the structure and how they work. Like you could probably be taught how to run a Chick-fil-A and figure it out. Can't be that complicated. You can probably figure out how to run a McDonald's or an Applebee's. Might require a lot more work, might not be as much income as what we specialize in. But I think most of the opportunities that are successful are very rigid and structured systems that are just implemented properly.
And you can put the same sort of system together with your own business and with your family. Like what we talked about, with just kind of structuring everything out with the days that we're working, our hours that we're the time that we have, that our kids have stuff going on that we want to be a part of, and just again kind of working together as a team. You're the people you work with, that's one team, and then your family is the other team. And and again, I think everybody just kind of has to work together to see to it that everything can get accomplished. But again, I think just a lot of the weighing game of time and time at home, and just kind of balancing everything out to keep everybody happy.
Well said. What do you do in your work-life balance to make sure that if things aren't going right, that you don't let that affect your attitude? I think so many people in our industry fail because they have a shit attitude, or they allow other people with poor attitudes to infect them, or they don't draw enough barriers when they realize somebody might be a bad influence to protect themselves from that. So when things aren't going right around you, how do you protect yourself to make sure you continue to push forward through those situations?
Well, just always remembering that the good days are going to make up for the bad, and that I'm going to go out there and have a bad day. It happens. I never plan for it, of course, but it happens. Where, I mean, heck, you could have 5 appointments set of people to go out and see, and you could have 5 no-shows. I mean, it happened last week. I mean, I had a day where my first 3 appointments pretty much amounted to nothing, and driving all over the place. I mean, could give up real easily. But all it takes is that one person to let you in to say, let's get this done. And it turns your whole day around. So I think it's just more of a mindset thing. And you just kind of always have to remember, well, we talk about the go for no, but at the end of the day, you're going to get that yes. It's just a matter of sticking with it. And if you have a bad day, sometimes it's tough too when you get home work to not let that affect how you communicate with your family because sometimes it can be tough. I mean, heck, you come home and if you don't write any business, if you're not in a great mood, sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of shift gears from work to home and try not to let your day affect the time that you're spending with your kids as well.
Yeah, don't be that person that's infecting others with negativity either. I think that's just as bad. Like you want them to be on your side, but you're coming home and you're taking out the fact that Miss Betty no-showed you on your significant other. That doesn't even make any sense. Like they should be on your side, but they should also understand you're going to have bad days, but you should also understand not to take it out on them. Adam, I have this theory that 1 hour out of the day is going to suck. For one reason or the other, the day's not going to go as planned. Someone's going to cancel, charge back, quit on you. Something in every day is going to suck. And the entire theme of the day is dictated by how you respond to that specific hour of suck. Have you ever found that to be true, or is that just simply a thing in my?
I could see that being true where you have one of those days. And if anything, you just got to take that time. For me, it's more of like, what can I do to turn things around? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I have 3 or 4 more hours. And what can I do within these next 3, 4 hours to kind of turn this thing around for the day? If that means I got to go back and find somebody that I've already done business with and go see them and maybe get some business that way, I'll do that. But it's just kind of keeping your head right, staying positive. Don't go home because you got discouraged. Like I said, I mean, I've worked with people in the past, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, things didn't go right and they went home. And then they call me and it's 7 o'clock at night and I'm still out working. So
Exactly.
you have to, uh, again, the good makes up for the bad, and you just can't let it get to you too much, and just know that the next sale is really not that far away.
Could you imagine what your circumstances would look like now if you wasted or underperformed your sales journey from the very beginning?
For sure. Yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, I got in the business when I was 21 years old. So, I mean, when I was 21 years old, work was really not my top priority. I mean, I was young. I liked to go out and hang out with my friends and have a good time. And I mean, heck, 21 years old. I mean, we'd be out probably 3 or 4 nights a week. So, I mean, that lifestyle, there's no way if I would have continued on that sort of path. I mean, that lifestyle, there's no way I would be as successful as I've been. You got to get to the point where you're ready to kind of settle down. You got to realize that this is a career and you got to treat it that way. And you just got to maybe grow up a little bit. It kind of took me kind of all my friends all at the same time. And we just kind of realized everybody's getting older. It's time to just start settling down and growing up a little bit. And makes a big difference when you kind of shift your focus from just going out and having a good time all the time to could probably have more good times in the future if I focus on work right now.
Yeah, I think you can have far more quality good times when you're serious about your business. Like I can probably bet most of my work nights include leftover meals or last night's dinner or something quick. But because I make that kind of sacrifice, dinners on a Friday night or a Saturday can be some really high quality fun. And from making those kind of sacrifices, and I think sometimes people just need to be more serious about themselves in their entrepreneurial journey and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right, or I'm going to stop fooling myself and go get a job, because wasting this opportunity just seems so unfair to those that have it.
And sometimes it takes someone to tell you, I mean, you are wasting an opportunity here. I've had to have those discussions with people in the past. Like, I think you're really good at what you do. I mean, you write a lot of business when you're actually out working, but I just think that you maybe spend a little bit too much time going out. And then you're spending all the money that you're making. And then what happens is they fall behind on, like in our business where you have to buy leads. They go out and spend all their money and then they don't have money to reinvest in their business and everything else they start falling behind on. And unfortunately, doesn't matter how good they were, that they could be in and out of the business because they had those bad habits, I guess you could say, when it came to work.
Yeah, I think especially in lead-based sales, the moment people stop buying leads or receiving them, however method they do that, they're setting a timer where within 6 weeks to 6 months they're done. Maybe they've got a little bit of savings, maybe they have a little bit of a warm market, maybe they have a little bit of a book of business to fall back on. But don't fool yourself. If you're not getting fresh people to see in sales, you're not going to last in sales. And if you're supposed to be buying that, why aren't you? And if you can't, why aren't you being honest with the leadership or the people you work with? Because they're going to be on your side if they're really there for you. And if they're not, find someone else to work with.
Yeah. Now, your work-life balance, Chris. I mean, how does that work? I mean, during the week, I mean, is it pretty easy, your schedule? Or, I mean, do you have to take off sometimes for different things? Like, how do you kind of balance everything?
Well, I think it's understood in my house that like Tuesday and Thursday is a field day. That's the current iteration of my schedule. And it goes through a couple different changes every so often. But those are field days and they're non negotiable days. They're almost as if the kid gets a fever, you've got to be kidding me because this is a field day kind of seriousness. And of course, there are times you have to deviate from that. There's times emergencies happen, but they are pretty few and far between. And they understand I leave almost before they even leave for school, and I don't get back until sometimes 6:30, 7, 8 o'clock, even later. But that's the commitment to make everything else take place. I mean, the understanding on a Monday, I'm doing this type of stuff. I'm not able to run to the store and do menial tasks. Like maybe eventually later in the evening, yes, but I work a very structured schedule even when I'm here at home. Like there isn't I'm not sitting here eating bonbons with my feet up. I'm getting stuff done with you. I'm answering questions for agents. I'm personally organizing for my field day tomorrow. Like a lot of my prep time is also time to make sure that when I'm selling efficiently at a high level, seeing as many people as possible, hitting my production goals. Because people that are working with me, I want to be setting a good example for. I want to be setting a good example at home, but for the people that trust to work with me because people are going to do 80% of what you do, but they'll also exploit 80% of your bad habits. So if they know that you're not going to be doing what they say, I say that to many leaders all the time too. Like, you want to build a team, but you're not buying leads. Like, F out of here with that. It's not going to work. You want to build the team, but you're not actually selling. Why is anyone going to sell if all you're going to do is recruit? Like, it doesn't work. Not only setting a good example at home, but for the people that choose to partner their businesses with us as well.
That makes sense because people will, for sure. I mean, if they see the type of work that you're doing, and if they want to get to the level that you're at, well, they're going to want to kind of replicate everything that you're doing. I think that could be maybe another topic for maybe another podcast, kind of talking about that. The qualities of a leader, and what it kind of takes to get to the level of really building something.
Yeah, I try to think of it like I don't ask people to follow, but hopefully they'll lead. Like I can't make another self-employed individual do anything. Literally can't. Illegal, actually. I can't make you do anything, but I can show you what's working for me. And if you choose to follow that and replicate it, it will work for you. But the moment you choose to deviate from it in one direction or another, I have no idea what the results are going to be. Because our business, as much as we haven't said that word today, is very replicatable. It's very simple. Is in fact boring. On our morning call this morning, I said to our featured agent, I hope you read all the passions you have outside the business. He likes music. He enjoys studying things in the healthcare industry and art and production. And I said, embrace that, but embrace the fact that this business is boring. And when you can balance the boring part, you can put all your creativity into the other parts of your life. So for those maybe not interested in building or replicating a team, enjoy the personal production part of the business to the point where you can put your passions into other things.
I think a lot of this too is just communication with how we word things or bring things up. I mean, one example would be over the weekend with my kids. I mean, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and we're hosting Thanksgiving, and
Same.
I mean, we'll probably have, oh, I don't know, at least 40 people here, 40 or 50. I mean, it's usually a full house. And our basement, unfinished basement, our kids will go down there to play here and there. I don't make my way down there too often. And unfortunately, that means that the basement tends to get pretty messy. And so on Saturday, I'm like, well, I got to start getting this basement put together because we're going to be having a lot of people over. Just kind of got to clean it up a little bit. And if I would have told my kids, hey, I need you to come help me clean the basement, they wouldn't have done it, or they wouldn't have wanted to. They would have complained about it. I said, hey, listen, Christmas is coming up and we got to go through your toys because you guys are getting older. You have a lot of toys that you don't use anymore. There's kids out there that are less fortunate that don't get nearly as many toys at Christmas time. So we need to go down there and pick out stuff that you don't use anymore. So we have more room too to get you guys new toys for Christmas. And they were like, oh, okay. And they went down there and honestly, they started picking up because they were going through their stuff. They were sorting things out and we were getting stuff ready for Goodwill. And, we had a good time hanging out Saturday, kind of getting that all accomplished. But like I said, had I just said, I need you to come downstairs and you're going to help me clean the basement, their attitude would have been completely different than when I said, we need to run stuff up to give to less fortunate kids. So you guys have more room for new stuff at Christmas too.
Yeah. Communication can, or the lack thereof, make such a significant difference in every type of relationship. I think some of the biggest failures in business I've seen have come from a lack of communication, either from one direction or the other. And that's just a parenting example, explaining what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it gets people on your side. I had a situation, we'll probably wrap up with this similar basement story. We've got the storage room and I wanted to move stuff from the attic to the storage room. It just seemed to make more sense to me. I didn't want to do it alone either. I wanted to do it on a Friday afternoon. And I said, if you guys can help me do this, everybody will earn $5 for doing it. Teaching a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit and hard work to the kids. And what do they like to do is when they earn the money, spend the money. So I put them to work. I communicated what the task was, but I also paid them for their hard work as well.
Hey, that's awesome. So yeah.
On that note, I appreciate everybody who took the time to listen. However you're listening or watching today, animal, human, or in between, like the video, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on whatever method you are watching us and share it with other people too. Like we put a lot of time and energy into topics, concepts, and a lot of the stuff is really useful when you listen to it. So share it with other people. The more you share it, the more people will see it that don't even know that they need to see it or would have never found it through normal methods. Adam, thank you for taking the time today, and we'll see you guys again next week.